So you heard small black pens. Which means if you want bigger back bends, you can do bigger back bends, but I'm going to teach starting with support, starting with basics, and you can build. Sit up tall. Shoulders back, shoulder blades down. Be seated high enough that your spine really can be tall. Pull up tall. Widen your shoulders. Widen the rib cage, the armpit chest. This region of the lungs should be ventilated. The skin should feel ventilated. Sides of the neck long. And while you're at it, glasses off. Sides of the temples quiet. Cultivate this sense of breathing that comes into the waist side lungs. Keep yourself tall. Be gentle with this breath. It's more as if you are allowing the breath rather than sending the breath. Diaphragm spreads. The back ribs right across the kidney band, which is also the band where the diaphragm is anchored into the spine in the back body. That band should mobilize with your breathing and spread. So don't create this space by sucking the breath. Do it by sitting yourself correctly. Quieting the mind. This spreading action comes more from the mental state than it does from you directing your physical body. Join your palms. This is Memorial Day, so we can take the opportunity not just to remember those who we need to remember on this day in our culture, in our times, in our lives. And that remembrance, by the way, in the usual remembrance of Memorial Day, is meant to give our present lives a meaning in a different but very similar way. The remembrance of all yogis past and their teachings gives our present practice its meaning. So remember, this is a let's say, a day for Smriti, remembrance. Bow to this practice. Release your hands. Raise your head. Open your eyes. Now, stretch your legs and change the crossing. And stretch your arms up to vertical. Way it tall. Your fingers, turn the palms up. Take the armpit, chest back. Take the armpit itself back. Maybe the head forward if you need to. And straighten the elbows. Lift your ribs up. Keep the arms back as you become straighter and taller. Now, this is a full-on vertical extension, and I still want to remind you about the widening. So remember, Smriti. Widen the hips. Widen the back ribs. In this arm straightening, as you roll that triceps from outside in, that's going to widen your shoulder blades, back of the neck. Bend your elbows, reverse the interlock, stretch up again. Roll the triceps. Sit straight. If you throw your chest forward to move your arms back, you will tighten the back. You will lose the width. So keep the arms back, keep your back back, and lift it and spread it. And release, come out. Now, just to keep things going, twist to the right. Those with tight shoulders, you either take some height behind you that allows the elbow to bend. And this keeps the side body spreading and the back body spreading. So you could hold with the hand lowered down if you can maintain that spreading. You can also use a wall behind you if that works. Come out, please. And change sides, sit straight, make sure you didn't twist yourself. This is two people yoga vow. How sweet. Side two. Pull the sides of the trunk tall. Bend that back arm, elbow. Breathe into the side ribs. Take this twist with the intention of spreading yourself. And come out carefully. Now stretch your legs. Change the crossing. Just getting active. Getting active here. And you take your hands back, perhaps to the blanket behind you. See how I caught it? If you don't have a blanket handy, maybe you've got some strap. So you can take your hands to shoulder width behind you. If the blanket doesn't work, take a strap. Sitting up tall, keeping your spreading of the trunk. Stretch your arms. and act as if this entire rib cage wishes to come forward, or rather the arms back, to expose all sides of that rib cage. So the shoulder socket and shoulder blade are coming back. Can you do this with straight arms? First bent arms, that's fine. You go as wide as necessary. Now, what's happening? The back of the shoulders are pinching. So can you internally rotate the arm and reach back? If you were holding a strap, your palms would face up, not down. Come on. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. Palms on the floor. Step those feet back. So you just did Urdhva Hastasana, Urdhva Kulyasana, stretching your arms overhead, keeping your spine very straight. Sister, take your feet back, away from the hands, and then raise the heels. Likewise, Chaya, feet back, away from the hands. Long stance. Now, most of you are facing sideways to me, which is fine. And I see the straightness of the arms and the push. Now, you need to be clear that the sides of your ribs are stretching back from that armpit to the hips. As Abhijata was saying, climb the side ribs up toward the hips. Now you see what's pinching again, perhaps somewhere in the shoulder region. What are you gonna do? Lift the pose away from the floor slightly. Roll the triceps in again as you did it in Urdhva Hastasana, so you feel a broadening of the back. Lift your back ribs and climb them. Now, release, come out. Let go. Let's see. Is this a good view? This might be a better view. So, these are my shoulder blades up here. These shoulder blades are, you know this, but I'm just reviewing. Shoulder blades are attached kind of at their top corner to your arm bone, and the rest of the shoulder blade goes down all the way here. So your shoulder blade goes down the back. Okay. So its main area of work is not at the level of the shoulder socket. Its main area of work is here. This top armpit, top sternum band, basically the whole sternum. So this is a thing you've got to negotiate with your shoulder joints. You must roll. Can you see that on camera? Roll those triceps in. Sorry. Tuck your shirt in. Roll the triceps in. Keep your neck soft. Press the lower shoulder blade, we say, but we want the whole body of the shoulder blade against the ribs. And then when you climb the ribs up the back, keeping the shoulder blade pressing, you wind up getting the top ribs to open without straightening the shoulder socket. So it's like that shoulder blade becomes a chest opener, not the shoulder socket. Please try the dog pose, rolling your triceps, resisting the arm away from the floor, and locating the plate of the shoulder blade. Raise the heels as high as needed. It's very helpful to keep a medium to long stance instead of a medium to short stance. Do whatever is expedient to keep your neck quiet. Some of you will feel like lifting the head. Some of you will drop the head. Pacifying is ultimately best, but not everybody can pacify. Stretch the arms, raise the heels, engage, find that shoulder blade. You know, you don't have a lot of nerves connecting to that region of the back, so you have to hunt and reinforce actions. And then climb your sternum and front ribs up to the hips. That brings them in contact with the shoulder blade. And if you're not careful, the spine lifts, but push again with those shoulder blades. That's right, Chaya, that is it. Raise the heels, open the chest. This is what brings the head toward the floor in dog pose. It's not the shoulders. Come out. Are you okay? A thumbs up will do. Okay. And a wall. I have to angle the camera. And bring. Oh no. See there. This is what you get for bringing water to class. I spilled my water. Okay, problem solved. Locate a wall, okay? Stand at the wall at a short distance. You want to basically think, if my arms are like this, I just walk up to the wall and stop where my hands stop me. And straighten your legs. The camera angle may make it look like my legs are a bit away from the wall. Yours might be too. In theory, the legs are vertical or very close. Now, put your whole palm on the wall and be gentle, don't push. Stand straight. Stand quite straight. Stretch your heels to the floor. And stretch your hamstrings to the floor. So you have to get the thigh back to where the hamstring wakes up and you can get to it. Stretch the hamstring to the floor. You might have to do one leg first, then the other, but get them both going. Now again, don't do this stretch from the breath. Stay as relaxed as you can. The wall, if it feels very constricting and your breath starts getting hardened, then just go away from the wall. Just, take a break. Now, adjust your shoulders. Shoulder sockets back. Shoulder blades down. Use the wall not to move your chest and belly forward, but to rise up, to stretch up tall. Legs down. Trunk up. Shoulder sockets back. Shoulder blades down. Now imagine that what you're doing is dragging the wall down, not super forcefully, but find some strength there to use the shoulder blade and the back of the arm to, you can't move the wall down, but what happens is your rib cage moves up. Use that leverage to raise the rib cage. Shoulders back, shoulders back, shoulder blades down, side ribs up. Okay, rest. Come away from the wall. This time, turn around with your heels close to the wall, buttocks close to the wall, elbows touching. Now move your shoulders back to the wall. But don't let there be a space between your buttocks and the wall and between your spine and the wall. Move your shoulders back, move your arm bones back. Keep your buttocks and heels and spine off the wall. Can you do that? Can you put your upper arm? So this part, this top shoulder touches the wall and your chest comes away. Okay? Now stand on your legs, straight as can be, and lift your chest. Good, come out. I hope your shoulders notice that. Okay, so you get a blanket and put it down. This is just padding. It's just to make your bony ribs maybe, or pubis and hip blades more comfortable. So you put a blanket down. Put this back. It's good. Yoga blankets are machine washable. It's just okay. Also, perhaps a bolster can help soon. And if you don't have a bolster, what you do is you get a couple of blankets and fold them in half lengthwise until you get something resembling or maybe in thirds, until you get something that gives you some elevation. So a bolster or 2 or 3 blankets. Anyway, put something like that nearby. We aren't there yet. You lie flat. Turn your toes under. This makes you essentially standing on the floor. And if you feel it, it almost feels like your heels are behind you. Put your palms on the floor. It's kind of the way they were at the wall. Now stretch your legs. Take sockets, tailbone to hip sockets. It's the base of the pelvis. You'll feel the pubis in front, hip sockets on the sides, and the tailbone at the back. This whole band goes to the floor. That whole band, which means the side buttocks go to the floor. Now you stretch your legs and keep the side buttocks on the floor. Press your palms, move those shoulders back. I like resting my forehead on the floor. Okay. So there's no strain in the abdomen and the breath, but the shoulders and the arms are working. And I think you should make them work as if you were getting ready to lift your thighs off the floor, but not quite. The foot is still down, pelvis still down. And if you wanted, as if you wanted to lift those shoulders and shoulder sockets further away from the floor, leaving the spine and trunk releasing. Now press with the arms, not to lift yourself up, but to wake up as if you were ready to do that, but you need those shoulder sockets to stay lifted. Most of us, especially the women, or we'll just say people with less upper body strength, the shoulder socket will move back down toward the floor to give you lift off. And I don't want that to happen. So move that shoulder back and push as if you were pushing through the back of the arm, the triceps to the floor. Don't push through the front of the arm. Push from the back of the arm to the floor. Shoulder blade, triceps, back to the elbow and down to the floor. Stretch your legs, breathe. Keep your spine and belly at rest. Now, take a rest for a second, because if you're doing this, it's hard work and your legs get hot. Mine do. Okay. Now you need the bolster or the blanket setup. And you take the bolster or the pile of blankets and you put it longwise. Let's see, I'll get rid of this so you can see better. Everything just turns into a bolster. And you lie on that. So it puts you in Chaturanga Dandasana. Chatur is 1, 2, 3, 4. Chatur Anga, 4 limbs. And this staff, which either is your entire pose or your spine, or in philosophical terms, the danda is this inner energy which is quite straight, pulled straight. Now stretch your legs as if you're standing on those heels. Keep the hip sockets not pressed on the floor anymore, but as if your hip sockets are being pulled and you are actively pushing them to stretch the legs. Keep the buttocks long. Press the palms, shoulders away from the floor, shoulder blades against the back ribs. Look forward and either lift off or try to lift off, holding the pose. It's not a upward facing dog. It is chaturanga. The elbows bend and you lift a level body. You lift a horizontal body. Lot of weight lifted or not much, but find the actions. The elbows never straighten, Linda. Emilia, the chest is coming up too much. Keep the levelness. It's good, Chaya. Doesn't matter how much weight is on her, off the pose. Lower the chest, Linda. Linda, yes. So what needs to lift with those shoulders is the abdomen. The whole trunk lifts or it doesn't, but your effort is to lift the whole trunk. Okay, maybe 2 or 3 tries, yes, and you're done. Let go. And you can roll off that bolster unless you like it there. Take a little rest. So strength is helpful, okay? And what we said just prior to that, or worked on prior to that, is, well, sorry. Now let's go on to what we worked on prior to that was some amount of shoulder mobility. So let's turn this into a back bend. Now the logical one is either Bhujangasana or Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. So let's go Urdhva Mukha Svanasana first. And to do that, 2 bricks are in order toward the front edge of your mat. I'm going to push this camera back so there's a wider view of the situation. And if your knee, once again, you tuck your shirt in and use your bricks to take upward facing dog. Then you use your bricks to take this plank pose. And in plank pose, you're doing what you've been doing all along, stretching the legs, lengthening the trunk. And in this buttock here, there needs to be width and length. This flesh has to be long. Do not bunch the pelvis up. When you stretch the legs, keep the buttock muscle and the bone beneath it long. So our first effort has more to do with the legs and the pelvis. okay? You can walk your feet forward to take a deeper pose. Those who are doing more complete pose, you turn your toes under, but stretch your legs. That is it. Okay? Take 2 or 3 tries. Experiment, if you will, with toes turned, soles to the floor and soles to the ceiling. But in either case, those legs must stretch. Okay? So you come into plank pose. Vic, yes, the hips need to move more forward eventually. So study that length and width of the buttocks as you stretch your legs. Keep it's like a shoulder blade, that pack pelvis bone, the ilium bone is very broad. Keep that breadth. The muscle that covers it, keep it broad. So your sensation is of the length of the spine and muscles in front. Okay, out you come. Now we're gonna push up from the floor into the shoulder end of things. So you lie prone, and in theory, these bricks come back. Well, I have a little, the bricks are back so that the forearms are vertical, which brings your hands down by your waist, not your chest. And you turn those toes under, doing the classical pose, or soles down, toes down, if you're feeling more beginner-like. Stretch your legs, no matter what you're doing. That hamstring has to pull out of the buttock. That's why this is a better pose for a beginner, because it gives you that length out of the buttock, just mechanically. And now the shoulders have to do that push-up work. Now I wiggle my feet forward. Keep the buttocks long. Okay, you do. 2 bricks gives you a little bit of length advantage for the spine. You want to be more classical, take away the bricks. Now stretch your legs first. Ungrip the low back. Broad. As you're lying on the floor, that breath should be spreading. Right? Don't narrow the breath. Now adjust your shoulders, get ready. Hands by the low waist or the hips, or be ready to move your feet forward. Up you go with inhale and then exhale to complete. Now broaden the collarbone, shoulder blades. Keep that sacrum broad and long, back thighs long. Keep trying to lengthen the leg out of the hips and push with the arms to lift the trunk. And out you come. Push hard. Those shoulder blades need to go down. Use that shoulder blade strength to lift your chest. Okay, that's better. Have a rest. Are you okay? Can we do another back bend? All right. So again, you can use your bolster or bricks, or as a stick for a person, you could use a chair. So here's a chair. Here's a bolster. See, one height. We're doing, in case you are wondering, Ustrasana. First things first, do you remember how I have just spent time talking about stretching the legs? Standing up, Chaturanga, Adho Mukha Svanasana, Bird Mukha Svanasana, lying down. We have stretched the legs, yes, we did. Now we are bending the leg. Nevertheless, it must stretch. So it's not like your leg pops to straight. It doesn't, not a bit. Your leg doesn't want to straighten. You'll give yourself knee problems if you try to actually straighten the knee. But what needs to happen is you need extension of the leg. Even because the knee is bent doesn't mean the leg shrinks. It extends. So this thigh from the hip socket reaches to the knee, and the knee reaches toward the feet, and the buttocks stay long. You, in Ustrasana, the hands go to the hips at first to remind the buttocks to stay broad and long. You keep stretching the legs, shoulders back. You've been here before. The head goes when it feels ready to go. And the whole time, you're breathing because it's the arms, it's the legs. Now, be kneeling there, hands on the hips, and your first work is to stretch your legs. And if you get it right, there's almost this immediate sense of yielding, space coming into the trunk. Buttocks down, buttocks long. Don't let the feet be light. Take the shoulders back. Keep rolling your triceps in, keeping the shoulders broad. Stretch your legs. Lengthen the buttocks. Come back up, inhaling. Do this 2 or 3 times without reaching the hands back. Now, some of you I see took your heads back. Some of you, some of you took your, each of you only has one head. Okay, so some of you took your head back and some of you did not. This is your choice. But I'll tell you, if you take your head back early, it's usually not a good choice. Take your head back late when it seems like you don't have much option, okay? Stretch your legs early, take your head back late. 2 or 3 times, don't stay forever unless you're feeling good at this. Keep that breathability in the pose. That's one of the markers that the head and neck have chosen the right moment to move. If you stop breathing somewhere in there, that's a clue. Something's wrong. Now, come up and let's take support. Now, I'm really interested in the width of the pose as well as the back bend. So the height you pick has to be a height that allows this, okay? So you do, and then I'm showing the chair. the versatility of the chair is that it's a really, you see, I hardly even changed from being upright. All of you did more back bend than this. But what's useful is the chair gives you something to pull on to widen and open your chest. This, being able to pull on the seat of the chair, is fantastic. And you can take more back bend, and you can go down the legs of the chair. In Ustrasana. So there's much that can be done for stiffer beginner people and even more flexible people. Now, feel free to use this bolster. You just need to be in control of your pose on the way down. That's the way it is done. Now, whatever you've got hold of, your bolster or the chair seat or legs or your feet, make sure your upper arms, those biceps are rolling out and the triceps in. When you take the head back, take it from the movement of the chest. Very good. Very good. Most of you look just lovely. Chaya, you may be able to move your chair further back, just an inch or two. And, not close to you, further back, further away from you. Yes, because your thighs were starting to come forward. Okay, you don't have to hold these poses forever unless that is the way your body is responding and enjoying. You can also do this in repetitions, 1 or 2 or 3. Are you all right? Are we still having thumbs up? Okay. So I'm going to try one potentially difficult action, but it's not that bad. And you can just keep it easy. You can keep it according to your capacity. So I'll go near a wall. Okay. How near I go is dependent on how much back bend I feel like doing. So I'm separating my feet slightly, knees hip width, feet hip width. So I have this not a narrow stance. It's also not super wonky. And as usual, I stretch the legs. So these feet are firm on the floor. The arms go up. The arms go really up. The buttocks get long. The arms go up. The arms go back. The whole body arcs. So that's not much for some. It's a lot for others. You can come away from the wall. You can turn. Do you see this? Toes down, heels up. You can also just take your head to the wall. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can. But this arms overhead is loading, is making these trunk support muscles have work to do as you go back. So make sure your legs and arms are carrying this work so your spine can just receive it, not have to fight with it. So hands down or hands up. If the hands are down, you're just going maybe till your skull whoops the wall, or fingertips. Keep the buttocks lengthening. So if there is a grip and firmness, it is at the baseline, right where the hip socket is. That gripping as you go back is not here. It's not in this low back. Keep it in the legs and the hip sockets. Okay. Lovely. Okay. Good. 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 Please come out. And we're gonna wind it down now. So let's see. If you acquired stiffness while you were doing these poses, perhaps you want to take a supported kind of half dog pose with the feet apart and the hands apart. My feet are about hip width and my hands are forward. Those who are feeling more ordinary, you can take a floor dog pose. Now at first follow what your spine is telling you. Okay? Don't do exactly what the spine wishes to do to open and relax whatever was gripping it. So in other words, if it's telling you, I want my heels down on the floor more in this dog pose, then you do that. If it's asking you to raise the heels up and let that front spine be longer, then do that. Follow the trail. Follow the scent. And then you can make a deliberate effort to draw the hips back away from the low back, following that path, but not being easy about it, going all. Then come out, rest in Uttanasana briefly with the feet apart. Just hang in there softly. And come up. Now, we're going to do a twist. Let's see. You might need a strap for this twist, possibly. And I'm taking my strap and turning it into a big loop. So I kind of have a thick doubled strap about this long. Now, watch. Can you see me? Yes. So I'm lying on my back. My arms go out to the sides. And I fuss and fidget for a few moments to make sure my back body is as broad and long as it can be against the floor. And the only thing that doesn't actually broaden as far as it can is the shoulder blades. They just tuck flat. So they make my chest broaden against the floor. Then the knees come up with the feet together, shins together, knees together. If this creates pain or difficulty, you can strap these guys together. You can use this to help. Goes around the feet. So here's the support way to do Japtara Parivartanasana. Strap around the feet. Both sides of that strap are against the left shin. And I just keep pulling on the strap. I'll show you from the side so you see another angle. And I roll. In this roll, I keep the shoulders down as the knees go to the side. Okay, so I'll show this from the side. So the elbow goes out. My strap is pulling, my knees tucked. And as I go off to the side, my legs rest on this strap. So it takes pressure off the torso muscles and allows the spine to twist. Those who aren't using the strap, you do it without the strap. You just use your muscles, but you keep those knees tucked and together, okay? Please begin if you have not begun yet. Use that strap or let it go. First taking the knees to the left. Keep the knees tucked as if you wanted to keep your knees touching your elbow or even your armpit. Now that strap, if you're using it for support, it goes underneath the shin on the side you're turning toward. It's like a sling for that shin. Keep your knees together as you are traveling. Keep your chest broad. Now, you started moving the knees left. So your last side should have your knees going right. Your side 2. And once you're done, you let those feet go to the floor and relax for a bit. And then roll to your side and come up sitting. Okay. You may sit on the let's see. Okay. We're going to do one more twist sitting on the floor, then we get Viparita Karani. Take your legs to your left. Some of you might be sitting on the bare floor. If you are quite crooked to the point of physical discomfort, elevate your hips. You could take a brick maybe or a blanket. If you're not uncomfortable, you're just crooked, that's kind of the nature of the pose, and it's one of the things we sort of work with in this pose. It's one of the things that actually is the pose doing us a favor. But if it brings discomfort, don't pursue it. Now again, you want this widening body here in the twist. So we're not taking the wrap, we're taking the spreading actions. So you might have a brick or a wall behind you or a chair. You've got all these props hanging around. So the weight, especially if you're sitting in this very asymmetrical pose, the weight is clearly drawn toward the side you're turning toward. Nevertheless, make sure the buttock you're turning away from and the leg and the foot you're turning away from are actively stretching Ustrasana-like. Stretch through that toe end of your left foot as you turn to your right. This is going to be part of what helps you loosen up the crimp in the left hip, the left low back. Stretch that leg and out you come, slowly, slowly. Help the legs out and change sides. Now, if the knees bother you, of course, you take support. If the hips bother you, take support. If there is discomfort in this asymmetry, if there are injuries, stiffnesses, difficulties, fix it. So get this lower part organized and stretch now that right foot, right shin. Press the little toe side of that foot on the floor, Ustrasana-like. And begin the twist. The weight is clearly leaning toward the side you're turning toward. Don't exaggerate that. Instead, bring your attention back to the foot you're turned away from. And keep turning. Keep that foot leg in mind. And come out. Help that leg out, stretch your legs. I hope that foot instruction helped something in the twist. Time for Viparita Kona. Something symmetrical for one moment. Just sit, it's not that symmetrical, but close enough. Sit cross-legged and fold forward. So I'm supported on my elbows. If you're more flexible, your head can go to the floor. Whatever you do, keep your buttocks down. This is just meant to relieve any crimps in the low back. Slowly come up again, change the legs, go back down. Sometimes the stiffness is such that you might want to just stretch sideways for a moment. Parshva Swastikasana. People with little scoliosis always get stiff on one side and the work than the other. So there's always this, you might have to do a little bit extra just to uncrimp that one stiff side. So, okay. Are you kind of unstuck? Are you ready for a relaxation? If you need to keep unsticking this low back, go ahead. Just watch the screen. You'll see what's coming next when you're ready for it. And I will say, this is the zero commute type of class. So you know you can end it later than its actual, 5:15 ending time. So you can stay even as I namaskar myself offline. Anyway, so you can stay working the kinks out and then you can do your final pose on your own time. What I have done is I have just now folded 3 blankets in a kind of a square folding. The depth of this blanket, if you see it, the depth is like, it's about a cubit. It's not quite a cubit. Okay. And I have 3 of them, and I put them at the wall. Now, if I were using a bolster, to get that distance from the wall, I'd have to add something like an extra brick. So when you use a bolster, you put an extra spacer. When you're using blankets, you generally don't need that spacer, but you need that depth, that distance from the wall. And then a blanket may be for your head against a hard floor. Now, a strap, a hat. There it is. A strap can come in handy as a relaxation tool. So the easy way to Vipriya Karate is to sit. I'm going to show you from this side so you get a better picture. I am sitting right on the edge of the blankets with my buttocks to the wall. And then I take the same side shoulder down in line, so when I roll onto my back, I roll onto that blanket pile instead of off it, instead of off the other end. So you want to roll on. And then you need to wiggle and shimmy to get your buttocks right up to the wall. And then you take your belt and you put it around your feet and you let your legs stay apart, resting on the strap, arms out to the sides. And in this shimmying and tucking, you tuck your shoulder blades so the side drapes lift and the diaphragm expands. I'm coming out to watch. You guys are going in, if possible, unless you have little sorens to mind. Now, this strap around the feet is technically optional. Technically, it's a variation of the pose, but I like it these days because it helps breathing. It helps also with the heat. If you are getting out, if you are experiencing our hot days, then this helps you be cool. Now, the nature of this pose is that it is both invigorating and sort of the wrong word, but tranquilizing. It brings tranquility, but it also rejuvenates. And the way it works is, there are several ways it works. One, it is and the throat very deeply, physically. So if you're in the pose right, that abdomen is lengthened and it's elevated above the chest, which gives it kind of even more space. The rim of the rib cage and diaphragm are expanded by the shape of the posture. So that gives lots of room in the abdomen and pelvis. And if that's going well, the abdomen and pelvis get very quiet, like a undisturbed pond. And it's kind of appropriate because the abdomen and pelvis really are quite liquid. So that's one thing. And that abdomen is where a tremendous amount of your nervous system is located. And it's a part which responds, it's kind of one of the first responders to stress. So pacifying this region of the abdomen is helpful for the whole nervous system, for that relaxation response. Now the invigoration comes by the expansion of the chest. And again, some of this is dependent on the curve in the rib cage and the tuck of the shoulder blades, and some of it by the height of your blankets and the inverted nature of the chest. The pose, but the chest. So that relieves pressure on the breathing, relieves pressure on the blood circulatory system. And if you're getting this, again, if the position is good, then the width of the pose can be felt. The sides of the lungs can be felt. Can be felt breathing. And every time you inhale, some of that peacefulness in the abdomen can trickle into the peacefulness of the throat. And that little pool in the throat gets deeper and quieter also. Psychologically, this pose makes the brain quiet. Physiologically, it does all kinds of things, some of which I already described. Another thing it does physiologically is it allows lymphatic return. Another thing that's very important in these times. Now, technically, it's the end of class. I have no desire to make you get out of your pose. What I'm gonna, if you like, you can come out and be in Shavasana. I'm gonna ring my bell and then say my namaskars, and you can stay put because you're home. Take your time, everybody. Namaskar. I'm gonna end the meeting, which, by the way, will also end the recording. So you will be in private starting now. Namaskar, everyone.